Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn's press conference revealed more than routine promotion. Beneath the insults were arguments about status, credibility, discipline, weight, social media, and preparation. These themes may shape not only the narrative, but the fight itself. So Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia had a press conference, and here are my observations. So we're going to explore 8 ideas. Idea number 1. The fight is already about status before it's about tactics. Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn were simply not promoting a world title fight. They were going over who deserves to be treated as a legitimate star, which leads to the first question. Who has the better resume? In most people's opinions, they would say Garcia has the better resume. And additional to that, many people question Conor Benn's credibility. They see him as an easy fight. But this may be overlooking his heart, his discipline, and that he is a good team, a good trainer, and underestimating Conor Benn. That risk could be very costly. With regards to resume, Conor Benn doesn't have a bad resume. I mean, just because Ryan Garcia has a better resume doesn't automatically qualify that Conor Benn's resume is bad. And even though many doubt Conor Benn's credibility, that doesn't mean he doesn't have credibility. And the most important thing is what happens in the ring. That's the most important thing. And if Ryan Garcia is underestimating Conor Benn, that could be a big mistake, especially considering that Conor Benn has heart, discipline, and I believe he will be bringing a lot to the ring. So the second idea is that Conor Benn's strategy was to attack Ryan Garcia's identity rather than his technique. So attacking his strategy rather than his technique. So Benn is framing Garcia as a social media personality and questioned whether he possesses the mentality of a serious fighter. And you can attack Garcia's social media personality, but the social media personality is an important part of his branding. And boxing is about not only what you do in the ring, but outside the ring. But you can also, equally, you can attack Conor Benn's credibility. You could state that he's inherited credibility primarily through who his father was, a great champion. I guess the truth here is that they have both created platforms that are generating this huge event. And in truth, both understand the importance of social media and both utilize social media. Social media is an important part of both their branding. However, I believe Ryan Garcia has leaned more in to the social media element, particularly when it comes to streaming. I believe he streams a lot. Here's a question. Can you do too much social media? And can you do too much social media before a fight? So then the third idea is that Garcia responded to Conor Benn by attacking Conor Benn's resume. So Conor Benn's strongest counter-argument was that Benn had not faced anyone young or of elite talent to prove that he belongs at world level. And clearly the premise here is that Garcia sees himself at world level. Conor Benn's resume, or a massive part of his resume, is Chris Eubank Jr. But that fight has context. And that context is rehydration. How much does rehydration affect Chris Eubank Jr.? Some say Chris Eubank Jr. had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. The Chris Algieri was a good performance, but many would argue that Chris Algieri was well past his best. Conor Benn's CV is a good CV, but it lacks elite competition. It's a fair criticism, but just because it may not be an elite CV does not mean it's a bad CV. And the fourth idea is that both men predict a knockout, but they were selling completely different fights. Now, Garcia presented the contest as a short night, while Benn projects himself as a fighter prepared to survive 12 rounds of conflict. That's an interesting context. If you believe it's going to be a short night, does that affect your preparation in a good way or in a bad way? And if you're preparing for a 12-round fight, what does that do to your preparation? Now, as an important point to remember here, boxers can be Machiavellian when they say they're going to fight. Sometimes that indicates that they're going to box. In other words, they'll do the complete opposite to what they're stating. Also, both understand the marketing behind a fight. Getting paid on the front end and on the back end, which I'm assuming both of them will be doing. So not only will they be getting an upfront fee, They'll be getting probably a fee based on the pay-per-view. So it's in their interest to generate and cultivate some type of animosity, some type of manufactured beef. And then the fifth idea is that Ben's biggest objective may be to drag Garcia away from his preferred emotional rhythm. So this confrontation in a way showed that Conor Benn deliberately poking at Garcia's reputation, temperament, and public persona. Conor Benn may want a Garcia that makes more mistakes. And by poking at his reputation, will that affect Garcia mentally and therefore make him more prone to making more mistakes? Conor Benn needs to land that big right hand. And if Garcia is over anxious or wants to hurt Conor Benn, then maybe that provides an additional opportunity. Maybe that counter window becomes bigger if you get on Garcia's nerves. There's a counter argument to that. Some fighters, if you irritate them, they fight even better. You know, there's more viciousness behind the punches, but not necessarily the bigger counter window. But effectively, Conor Benn needs to deal with Garcia's left hook. And I think the Rolly Romero fight, that's the blueprint. You've got to take away the left hook. If you take away the left hook, then you're effectively taking away Garcia's most effective weapon. Now, in his last fight, Garcia showed an effective right hand, but still, you take away the left hook and you're halfway there. That looks like the blueprint. Take away the left hook. And remember, Rolly Romero has a lot of power, which kind of leads to another question. Conor Benn seems to punch hard, but we don't know if he's a power puncher. But if he can take away the left hook and make Ryan Garcia respect his power, then you have a more passive Ryan Garcia, and that is an easier person to beat. So the sixth idea is Garcia's social media reputation remains the opponent's game plan. So Garcia insisted that streaming and online attention are not distractions. I think it's important to recognize here that the streaming and the online attention is a big part of his media engine. So that's essential for his marketing. But does Garcia need to stop streaming while in preparation? Because does preparation or does streaming affect your boxing preparation? Think of this. Preparation is all about creating an elite boxing environment. And does streaming hinder that? Or could it enhance that? Does streaming affect the exclusivity of a camp? Is it easier for things to get leaked? In a 12-week camp, from an outsider looking in, streaming could be a major distraction. I think it's important that Garcia understands that Conor Benn provides a serious threat. He may be the underdog, but he's a serious threat. If Garcia is underestimating Conor Benn and that makes him less prepared, then this could be the recipe for an upset. And then idea 7 is the drug testing discussion. And both were very dismissive of this. Now, I think testing, particularly in this fight, is about credibility and safety. So there's two important elements there, credibility and safety. When we're talking about the credibility, we're talking about the credibility of boxing, and we're talking about the safety, we're talking about the safety of both fighters. So both fighters, like any fighters at an elite level, need to be tested with a proper protocol. Of course, we want clean athletes delivering great performances. And this is a great opportunity for Conor Benn. It absolutely is, because this, I feel, is not just about money. Of course, they'll both get paid a lot, but it's also about cultural impact and getting big boxing respect. And if Conor Benn is able to win this fight, he deserves a lot of respect. And then the final idea, the 8th idea, is the weight comments. Garcia has made comments about Ben struggling at a previous weight. And of course, he's trying to put doubt in Conor Benn's mind. Now, the Conor Benn weight issue has not been openly discussed. I don't think Conor Benn's team would negotiate a disadvantage. Their history doesn't show that. And I believe they will be prepared for the weight. And I expect a Conor Benn to come into the ring against Garcia in absolutely incredible shape. So this is my last statement. Think of this. The press conference is not about punches, but it's about status, credibility, identity, and control. Garcia wants Ben dismissed as an unproven name. Ben wants Garcia exposed as distracted, emotional, and overrated. Yet beneath the insults sits a serious contest of weight, discipline, power, testing, and preparation. The winner may be decided by who resists the narrative, protects their weaknesses, and creates the most professional environment when promotion ends and the 12-round reality begins. So that's the end of the video. Now I'm trying to build a digital boxing community, and that means I'm interested in your thoughts, I'm interested in your perspectives, and I'm interested in your observations. Now, if you want to support the channel, press like, hype, and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content like this, then simply click here or click here. As always, thanks for your time. It is much appreciated.